Okay, so can you hear the music when the countdown is going? That was
Mhm.
different, was it not?
Yep, it
Okay, I
was.
liked it. I liked that a lot better. I don't know.
I was about to ask when we when we got here. I was
I
like,
would
the music's different.
the
Did you
music is
change something?
different. Not that I know of. I'm trying to go and see in the settings, but there's nothing to change in the settings, so we'll roll with it. We'll roll with it.
Yeah,
So, all right, well, another week of Star Wars news. How are you feeling on this fine Thursday night?
good. After you sent me that recap, doing good.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Andor season 2. The trailer obviously dropped this week, which is some of the big news that dropped. Uh and then we got some even bigger news potentially with the Kathleen Kennedy news that dropped on Tuesday, I believe. And
Mhm.
so a lot of exciting stuff to get into. I don't know if we'll call it fun, but it's certainly exciting for Star Wars, I think. Whether you're someone who is a fan of Kathleen Kennedy, a fan of Andor, a fan of all these things, um, I think it's a lot of exciting things on the horizon, and we'll get into all of that. So, uh, glad that everybody going to be here. I saw this message from Darth Racoonar, or Racoonar, I should say. It says 3 a.m. acceptable time. Must be 3 a.m. wherever Darth Racoonar is. And it also says, don't scare me like that. It was really quiet here. So he must have just been on the stream, and then we started it up. Scared the heck out of him. So I guess, what is it now, Darth Racooner? About 3:45 a.m. where you're at. Well, glad there's some commitment here. I'm glad to have you. I think that warrants
I love democracy. I love the Republic.
thank you for being here. Okay, let's get into the first news. Yeah, 3:45. There you go. Of Kathleen Kennedy. So, breaking news on Tuesday, right? That Kathleen
Mhm.
Kennedy, the head of Lucasfilm, is set to retire at some point in 2025. At least that's what it started out being. Now, you probably don't know this, Journeyman, but tonight, probably around 6:30 ish, apparently there is a interview that dropped in the news outlet Deadline, which is part of the Hollywood trade. So it's a very reputable source. Interview with Kathleen Kennedy. Basically, kind of what seemed like a little bit of PR to handle the situation, because obviously everybody's, this is blowing up, right? You have everybody's talking about this in pop culture right now. Because we're talking
Mhm.
about the head of Lucasfilm, right? The person who was, quite frankly, handpicked by George Lucas to lead Star Wars and Lucasfilm is leaving, and for better or for worse. Obviously she's overseen a lot of projects, some good, some bad. We'll get into all of it, but this is big news, right? So, uh,
Mhm.
anyway, they dropped a Deadline article, basically kind of like, in my opinion, I haven't read the full article, uh, but it's kind of like she's like, hold on a second, like, I'm still going to be actively involved with producing movies. I think even in the article she says, like, I'm going to produce movies until I die. Like, so she's very much like, hold on, wait a minute, I'm staying around, I'm sticking
Something
around.
ain't right.
Something they write with these stories. But she also does say, and I think that this is the big thing to keep in mind, that they've been working on a succession plan for a while now. So she will be leaving. When, we don't know. There's talks. The rumors at the beginning when this first broke was that it will be some point in 2025. Now it's seeming like it will probably come late 2025, early 2026. But a lot of people suspect that we could get a replacement named at Star Wars Celebration in just a few months. So we'll get into all of that. But I just want to take a minute. And, a lot of people are talking right now, and we'll be super candid on this stream. This is a democracy, after all. We want to make sure we share our honest thoughts and speak candidly. But, there's a sentiment going around that she's been fired. And I just want to make sure that we set the stage for our conversation, Journeyman, that, she's not fired. She may have been told, hey, now would probably be a good time to go. But to be clear, nothing that I have read or have seen is saying that she's been fired from Lucasfilm. So let's just make that clear. Also, she's had an extraordinary career as a producer. When you think about, she co-founded Amblin Entertainment with Spielberg and Frank Marshall, who I now believe is her husband. Produced films like E.T., Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones as part of Lucasfilm. And then, like I said, George Lucas handpicked her to lead Lucasfilm after he departed in 2012. So, and then in terms of Star Wars, it's been a mixed bag, right? It's been kind of a long journey with projects like The Mandalorian, who we could say she was responsible for bringing Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni together to make The Mandalorian, and she's an executive producer on that. But then you have things like The Last Jedi, which was super divisive, and Rogue Squadron, which we don't know if we're going to get. And so all of these things under her leadership that ultimately fall on her. But let me get your thoughts. I don't want to just keep monologuing. What was your initial thoughts whenever you first saw the news?
My first reaction was finally. My honest reaction, honestly, was that it's been a long time coming. I saw a thing on theory's Instagram where he basically says what I'm about to say is yes, she's done a lot of good in her industry, producing a lot of great movies, but then with Star Wars, like you said, The Last Jedi kind of broke the camel's back on everything and kind of broke the storyline, broke the community, I guess, of Star Wars, divisive wise, just what it should have been. But yeah, I did read, however, somewhere, I forgot what article it was, but it said last year, remember that report last year that she was probably leaving last year?
Mm-hmm.
That was actually true, but she decided to go ahead because there was an exit interview with a news source or something ready to go, but she decided, no, I'm going to go ahead and fill up my contract and leave when the contract is up. And so, like you said, she's not fired, she's retiring, she's leaving, but I feel like the executives told her, like you said, you really need to go. They've been working on this forever, but she decided, I'll leave it one more year and that'll be that. But I think my other thought is it's kind of like when you have a new management for an apartment complex or anything, this may not change much necessarily, because while we trust Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau and all of them, just to name a couple people of who could potentially run Star Wars, we still don't know what their ultimate vision is. So we're trying to, right? But I feel like perception wise, this could be very good. In terms of the actual Star Wars, I don't know yet. It seems positive. It seems like we're going in a positive direction with them too. But perception wise, I think this is what Star Wars has needed.
Yeah. Well, and you brought it up a little bit, but let's talk about the history of this. So yes, I saw the similar reports to what you were saying. And apparently, from what I read or heard somewhere was, in 2024, she was planning an exit strategy, kind of just to dismount from Lucasfilm. And it was something to do with, she was looking at actually joining some AI firm and how it could be used to help produce movies. Don't quote me on that. Someone can fact check me. But there was a plan. It was going to happen. And I think I have a Hollywood Reporter article pulled up on my other screen here. And somewhere in this article, or it may be in a different article, I know a lot of insiders are talking about this, but one of the problems I think they were running into and why she actually did end up sticking around is they don't actually know who is the rightful heir to take over. Because once again, George Lucas handpicked Kathy to do this job. Now, did she do a good job? Did she do a bad job? Besides the point right now. But the point is there's actually really nobody ready to take the mantle. And quite frankly, maybe nobody actually wanted to take the mantle. And so she's just stuck. Someone's got to leave Lucasfilm. So
I think that second point is more or less what we've heard, or not we've, but I've read, like, from Josh and the nerds. It's like they probably, the IP is so messed up that probably no one wants it to take over that job and kind of lead it. And that's such a shame, because if she were to leave, before The Last Jedi, I think the IP was in the greatest position ever, and anyone would have wanted that job.
Yeah.
But after that, you're kind of stuck where you are.
Yeah. No, and I think that's a big, it was a big problem, is that even if there was, even if it was time, nobody was ready to take that mantle. And
I also
go ahead.
Sorry, my other thing is, if she truly left last year, I think people could actually say, or PR wise, you could say that she got fired because her contract wasn't up.
Yes, or it is interesting. The language is wrapped up in the PR stuff, right? Because on one hand, it was being reported that she's kind of retiring. I don't think anybody suspected that she would fully retire, but the article that she just dropped kind of counters that. I say she dropped, Deadline dropped interview with her. It's basically saying, I'm not retiring. Like I said, I believe it says she's in that Deadline article that she's going to make movies until she dies. So is she fired? No, nobody's coming out and saying that. But I think everyone has known for a while it's been time for her to step down, regardless of how you feel about her. And yes, I found the quote in the Hollywood Reporter article here. It says, one reason Kathy stuck around for so long is because there is no credible alternative, said one person who has many interactions with Lucasfilm leadership. So this is someone who's on close to the inside. Sources say former Lucasfilm executive Rain Roberts, who was at the company for 12 years, was being groomed by Kennedy as the likely replacement. But just last week, Roberts was announced as Searchlight's new senior VP of production. So there you go. They didn't really actually have somebody. So the question then becomes, who is going to take up the mantle? Because I don't want to focus too much on Kathy. I think the real kind of fun and speculation of this is to talk about what's next for Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
And let me pull up a few chats here. Darth Rakunar says, to be honest, I never actually cared about the out-of-universe stuff. Never actually understood the amount of hate against her. Yes, there were some misses. Last Jedi, cough, cough, but that's okay. In the end, Star Wars is a story, Absolutely. I mean, I agree with that. Like, at the end of the day, we're just talking about a story, but we're also talking about a story that a lot of people care about, right? And I think you would agree with me on this, Journeyman. I'll get your quick thoughts on this comment I'm about to make here. But I do think that a lot of the hate, so to speak, or the criticism against her is a lot of it. I don't know if a majority, but a lot of it is just the typical thing you see when something goes wrong, someone has to take the blame, and it's usually the person at the top. You know what I mean? I don't know if you agree with that, but very rarely do you see someone get praised for the good things.
No, I agree with the point that someone has to get blamed, and unfortunately it is her. But I think my other problem with it is the stuff from the Mando stuff of, like, you had this kind of story going on with Rogue Squadron, with other things as well. Like, you had kind of a plan going forward, and a few things, like the Cara Dune stuff, like off-screen stuff. It's like you scrap that because whatever, your politics didn't line, that's fine, whatever, you can do that. But you had something set up for something and you try to rewrite it, and now even that stuff, it's still going okay, but I think you could have had a stronger story with the plan that you were going to have.
Sure.
That's my other part of it as well. It's like you announce stuff, and I know Marvel does this all the time, and I'm not trying to kill them for that as well, but with all the stuff that we are supposed to get, it hardly ever shows up. And I'm like, that's where I get it mad as well, is like, quit announcing stuff if you're not actually going to do it.
Sure. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. And I mean, like I said, this is not even me talking. The Hollywood Reporter talks about, the article I'm referencing here talks about how there's been a lot of misses under Kathleen Kennedy when it comes to Star Wars. And so I thought it would be kind of fun to,
Sure,
in the Hollywood Reporter article, once again, the one I'm referencing here, and it's titled Disney's Star Wars Succession Problem, Who Will Replace Kathleen Kennedy?
Yeah.
And so in the article, it lists some names that have been floated around in the past or who have been mentioned by industry observers as having some of the chops needed for one of the hottest and hardest and most scrutinized jobs in Hollywood. So this is names that a reputable source, part of the Hollywood trades, these are names that are being referenced in their article specifically. Before we do that, I think it would be good to make sure we understand what this job actually entails. What does the president of Lucasfilm, what does that job mean? And in the same article, it says what people don't understand is it's not a creative job, which I think is going to be we're going to circle back to this quite a bit in our discussion of who's going to take over. But it says what people don't understand is it's not a creative job, says one producer with ties to Star Wars. That's about 10%. The rest of it is dealing with Disney, licensing, and fans. So
it's basically playing politics within the company. That's
well, you're managing the company. That's your job. Yep. 10% of it is creative. So with that in mind, that's like you could sum it all up and fit it into a one sentence job description. Let's talk about who could potentially take on the role. So any guesses on who the first person in the Hollywood Reporter article is?
I would probably say Kevin Feige, but
okay. Kevin Feige's in the article. He's not the first one though. So I'm going to read maybe not the whole thing. I don't know. We'll see. Of what
maybe just give us some names and.
Well, so the first one is Jon Favreau, which I think everyone's always kind of speculated about. But let's remember the job description that we've laid out, and then this is going to tell a little bit about Jon Favreau, and then we could be we're like essentially interviewing these people. I'm like, yeah, you would be a good fit for this role. Okay,
sure.
So job description. This article says Favreau is responsible for launching the Marvel Cinematic Universe with 2008's Iron Man, successfully launching Star Wars into TV hyperdrive with 2019's The Mandalorian, and is directing the first new Star Wars film since 2019 with his upcoming The Mandalorian and Grogu. With Mando, Favreau demonstrated an understanding of the universe while also seeming to intuitively know what casual fans want. He also served as an executive producer on several other Star Wars shows, but as noted, Kennedy's job is less about being creative than being a manager. He won't want to be an executive, predicts one observer. So, do we think he's qualified? Do you think that, kind of kickstarting Marvel, the Marvel Cinematic Universe in 2008 with Iron Man, and then kind of launching the 2008 the 2019 Mandalorian show on Disney Plus, and then be an executive producer on these other projects? Like, is he the guy, do you think?
In my opinion, I think he is more of the guy than probably the other candidate that's on that list, Dave Filoni, because it seems like Dave is more of the behind the scenes person anyways, and John was always kind of like the PR type person that would like normally talk about the projects and kind of do what a producer does, is like talk about the show, hype up the show, but also like give it some roses when it comes to the show. And so I feel like he's more capable, and he has relationships across that industry where he could build relationships with Disney, build relationships with other people, of like wanting people to bring in, like just creatively wise, of what he wants for Star Wars. I think that it's probably more of a candidate than what Dave would want.
Sure. Yeah, and I pulled up his comment, but Darth Raccoonor says, in Jon Favreau I trust. The creative head Dave should be, in my opinion. So there you go. I think that's kind of what you're echoing there. The thing when I read that, John is like you said, probably really good at making those connections and establishing those relationships. And based off of this, it's like let's be clear about what he did. According to this, he kickstarted the MCU. He kickstarted Star Wars television on Disney Plus. He's really good about getting the ball rolling and setting you on the right track. Now, do I think he would make a good president? I think he probably could, of Lucasfilm, but I don't know if he wants that role.
Yeah. Do we have a great track record of him actually being at the head of things? No, but like you said, getting the ball rolling on stuff. I know he did other movies other than those two. Yeah. He's done like a lot of different movies, but
Zathura, Elf. I mean, the guy made Elf, for crying out loud. Like, I mean,
I want that guy.
I want that guy to do Star Wars. And that, like, I mean it, like, seriously, like he did Elf. Like, it's a big achievement, right? I mean,
yeah,
the guy, but
that's another cultural phenomenon.
I think so. To kind of wrap up the conversation on Favreau, like, I think that he's a good choice. I don't know if he really wants the job, though.
But I don't think he would want either. But
you mentioned Dave Filoni, and that's interesting because literally, once again, in this article, he is next in the line. So he's an active candidate, viable candidate for this position, I think, on the basis that he's mentioned in this article. So the Dave Filoni resume is mentored by Lucas himself. Filoni is beloved by the franchise's fandom, who see the passionate writer-director as one of their own, who gradually managed to become a major player in the Star Wars dream factory. Filoni has come a long way since launching The Clone Wars, working closely with Favreau on The Mandalorian, shepherding other animated shows, and showrunning his live-action scripted series with 2023's Ahsoka. Ahsoka had a mixed reception, and Filoni is seen by some in the industry as being too far from a manager or corporate boss type. He's a great resource of knowledge, but he's ultimately a TV guy, says one source. He'll be killed by all sides, and yet one source, this is important, one source tells the Hollywood Reporter that Filoni is already Disney's choice to succeed Kennedy and predicts his ascendancy will be announced at Star Wars Celebration in April.
Once again, I kind of agree with them that he would probably get killed on all sides. However, here's what I will say about Dave Filoni and just the history of Star Wars. George Lucas did the exact same role for all those years, and he created Star Wars. Like, was it probably a lot of pressure, and that's probably why he ended up selling to Disney and like leaving and all that? I think so. But to say it can't be done would be incorrect. The guy who created the thing has been running that show for all these years.
Yep.
He practically founded the CGI for it, like the studio for it. And so like he did everything. He made the whole thing. And so do I think he really wants it and they should go with him? I personally want it too, just because I feel really confident with Dave. But does he want it? I don't think so. I think he's more suited for the creative side. Like he said, he does have the knowledge of it. But having those relations, having those connections, I don't think it's there. Not saying he can't build those,
Mhm.
but in order to kind of play the workplace politics with that, like I just see him as more of a George type of just kind of being secluded, I guess, or like just really in his own shell.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. It's like I think he can absolutely do it, and it's been done before, but he would probably need to build some connections.
Well, and the way I see this playing out is, DC Studios has the setup, the dual president setup, where they have James Gunn and I can't remember the other guy.
Peter
Or
Safran.
is that what it? Okay, I truly don't know.
Something Safran.
Okay, but they have that set up, so that's possible. So the
Mhm.
only way I see Dave Filoni becoming a president of Lucasfilm is if he's conjoined or partnering with somebody else. Names like Carrie Beck I've heard have been floating. So Carrie Beck is like an executive vice president on the same level of Dave Filoni right now, executive vice president of live action development or something like that. So could be someone like a Carrie Beck and Dave Filoni, could be someone like a Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. But I don't see Dave Filoni being the sole head of Lucasfilm. And quite frankly, I don't know if he gets a promotion anyway, because he's already doing the creative work. He already is the executive vice president of, well, we looked it up on the podcast, which shout out to Travis. I don't know if Travis is in the chat, but we recorded a podcast with Travis that should be releasing within the next couple of days. So go check that out. Make sure you're subscribed so you get notified when the podcast drops. But we talked to Travis about this. I think we looked it up. He's like chief content creator or chief. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's already doing that work. So I think there's a real possibility he doesn't get promoted at all. And if he does, he's going to be partnering with like a Favreau or somebody else. So.
Well, and if it is Dave Filoni, and he's probably going to be the chief creative officer, I think that's what it was. He needs a person, and I think kind of behind the scenes, they need to set it up like this. Like, hey, Dave, you're really going to be running the show. You just need a face to, help you run it and kind of like push Disney, push these other people to be like, hey, this is the direction we are going. Like, kind of back Dave up on a lot of stuff. Because I feel like we can trust Dave with where we're going, and I think we'll be fine. We just got to trust in it. But I think you need someone that is willing to be kind of behind the scenes, really pushing Dave's stuff of like being like, hey, it's still Lucasfilm. It's still, we're going to make the decisions. Even though Disney is the boss, like you kind of got to have a person that is willing to step behind Dave or step in front of Dave and just be like, I'm backing up with this guy. Like,
yeah,
you got to go through me.
No, 100%. 100%. And I just will end on this note, but it says, and yet one source tells The Hollywood Reporter that Filoni is already Disney's choice to succeed Kennedy and predicts his ascendancy will be announced at Star Wars Celebration in April. So there you go.
If it happens, I wouldn't be shocked. It would make a lot of sense. But
and I would not be mad either. I mean, like you said,
no,
you can always learn, right? He knows Star Wars. He knows it creatively, and surely he can run the business. The only thing I would say is I don't, and I'll end it here on Dave. I say that, but wait till you see what the next one is. But I will say that going back to what the article says, the role is 10% creative. He is a creator. I don't know him personally. I've just seen the interviews. The guy, I don't think, is interested in the business part of it. He just wants to make really good Star Wars stories. And I think if you told him, hey, Dave, only 10% of your time is going to be writing characters like Ahsoka, stories for Ahsoka, or stories for whatever, I think he's like no, that's not really for me type of thing.
Here's the only thing that I would say to that and to people at Disney, that once again, they're probably his choice according to that article. But I would say, Dave, like, if you can create the story that makes them a lot of money, I feel like the creative business side of it is going to be very, very, I say very easy. It's going to be a lot more easy than if it goes bad. Like that's the risk that you're taking on that role. It was like, if it goes great, your name is a part of it. If it's not gonna. It falls on you, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
But if it goes the direction that I think a lot of Star Wars fans have hoped for, Disney will be fine in saying, "Hey, you're doing great. Your job will be a lot easier."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and we'll see. So the next one is interesting. So in the article, it's Favreau, Filoni, and then the next one is Favreau or Filoni, or both. So it says one possibility for replacing Kennedy is to pair Favreau or Filoni with a highly experienced studio managerial type who doesn't necessarily know Coruscant from Corellia, but it kind of gets into some stuff. But basically, and it talks about DC, so it is Peter Safran, like you said, and James Gunn. One person makes the creative decision and one handles the less glamorous corporate matters. Disney could also opt to pair Favreau and Filoni together and offload some of the position's more mundane duties to their executives. So there you go. There's that.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we have Kevin Feige. Many insiders believe the best candidate for the job is Marvel Studios topper Feige, who has shown an uncanny ability to balance corporate needs with an understanding of core IP. He's a major Star Wars fan too. But in some ways, Feige's moment of opportunity has passed. The ideal time for Feige to seize the Star Wars Empire's throne was after the mic drop that was 2 back-to-back blockbuster Avengers movies. And so, it goes on to say those reverberations are still being felt, as seen with mixed reception of Captain America Brave New World. Feige is mostly focused on recalibrating Marvel. So what do we think with that?
I agree. I don't think you can leave Marvel the way that it is. However, I would want him over here, to be honest with you. Like, I think Star Wars needs a big name I think Star Wars needs a guy like him. A big name, big personality, big ideas as well that he can throw to Dave. And not say necessarily do it, but like at least be willing to throw his ideas at Dave. And just have another head in the room to help out a little bit.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt. Once again, I think he would pair well with Dave of just like doing the business side of it and throwing his ideas, and then Dave can kind of ride around it if he wants, but still be willing to roll with Dave. He's shown that ability. I also think what I want to personally believe is he really wants the job, but the way that Marvel is right now, you can't leave that place the way it was, or it is. Like, you got to get it back to some level of Infinity War and Endgame before even having another possibility of doing it.
Yeah. Well, and some have been talking about how Feige might even be actually exiting, doing a kind of a dismount from Marvel. Someone was saying that the kind of like chief creative guy over at Disney, I can't remember, Alan something. I'll have to figure out what the name is. Alan something. Okay. Anyway, I think he might be leaving, and so maybe Kevin Feige will take that position and actually get to oversee creative things like the studios, Marvel and Lucasfilm, and will have a position like that anyway. So that could be interesting. I really don't think that Kevin Feige is going to be the person for this. I just think he's probably got too much stuff wrapped up in Marvel right now. So I don't think that it's
Is it Jared Bush?
No, it's Alan something. And I'm gonna get to the chats here because we have some people strolling in here. One of which is Tony. Tony's like, Tony here didn't get enough sleep last night. Oh man, Tony.
It's treason then.
Just for you. And then let's see here. And then we got Travis. Good to see you, buddy. We were just saying I manifested you. I did this with Mike a few weeks ago, and then I just did it with you. I was just saying how we recorded a podcast, and it was fantastic. And guess what, Travis? I edited it fully. It was perfect. It was wonderful. Loved it. I was trying to export it. I was having some issues getting it exported out of iMovie. And then guess what? I lost all of it. So now I got to go and well, we had close to 2 hours of content recorded in that podcast, and I had edited it to make it smooth and everything. So now I got to go back and re-edit it. So it's fantastic. It's still slated to release on Saturday. And I'm going to actually plug the Discord here. So if you're not part of the Discord, you're watching this on the replay. What I'm going to do is if I can get it edited before tomorrow, I'm going to post the link to the private. I'm going to upload it to YouTube, make it private or unlisted, and you should be able to go watch it without it actually being public. So go to the Discord and you'll get early access to that. And then it will go public on Saturday, hopefully, fingers crossed. But it was a fantastic conversation. I think Journeyman would agree. It was a really good setup. Like, as much as I like having the chat to bounce ideas and hear from, it was really nice just to hear from Travis and his experience with Star Wars. And I hope that we can continue that conversation with other guests in the future. So good to see you, Travis. Thank you, buddy, for hopping on. It's good to see you. And so we still got Darth Racoonar here. Thank you for being here, Darth Racoonar, wherever you are, where it's close to, I guess it's almost 4:20 a.m. wherever you're at now. And so, yeah. Oh, wait, someone said it here. Alan Horn. Did you see the name Alan Horn pop up anywhere? I believe that's the name.
No, there's an Alan in Braverman, but I don't see Alan Horn.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think it's Alan something. I could be wrong, but anyway, it's kind of besides the point. I don't think that Kevin Feige is going to be taking over. Just to name a few other names here, because I'll wrap up the conversation about Kathleen Kennedy, and we can move on to more in-universe things. J.J. Abrams is listed in the Hollywood Reporter article as someone who could take over Lucasfilm. Emma Watts, Hannah Minghella, and then those are all the names. So, I mean, I don't know who some of those people are, but this is a Hollywood Reporter article. If you're just joining us, so Travis and Tony, I know you just popped in the chat, but we were kind of reading through the Hollywood Reporter article, Disney Star Wars Succession Problem, Who will replace Kathleen Kennedy. We talked about Kathleen Kennedy and how, whether you love her, whether you dislike her, what's really important here is, what does this kind of mean for the future of Star Wars? So go back and watch that conversation. It was a good conversation, but if I had to choose what I would like to see, given that Kathleen Kennedy is going to stop, it will be leaving soon, it seems like. I personally would love to see John and Dave team up at the top. I don't think that's going to happen. I think what we're going to see happen is probably someone, and I think, Tony, you said it here. Sorry, I was kind of skipping over chats. Let's see. I think he told Travis we elected Travis to be the president of Lucasfilm, which is not a bad choice. Let's go, Travis. And then he says, can't it be a previous movie exec? I think that's the comment. I think we're probably just going to get some top-level official at Lucasfilm right now, like a Carrie Beck or somebody like that, to probably go take over, and maybe Dave Filoni comes on as a co-president. I think that's probably what is going to happen, but we can leave it there.
And Tony says, I think the question he's asking is, do we need someone that we already know of? No. Yeah. And that's kind of what you're answering is like, it's probably going to be just a heavy higher up person at Disney just to run it, and that at least they know of. I have never heard of those people, but like, as long as they are with Dave on a lot of stuff and like are willing to fight for him and what he wants to do with Star Wars, and kind of really give him the reins on, like he said, the creative stuff, and just be willing to fight with him, like fight alongside him, then I'm fine with it. I don't want to have someone that is so willing to give in just to what Disney's doing. I understand Disney's the the company that has bought it, but at least be willing to fight with Dave of being like, no, this is the direction like Dave wants to go, and I trust Dave. Like that's kind of what I want.
Yeah. And so time will tell, right? I mean, it's going to
Right.
be an interesting year to see what happens with Star Wars, and it's certainly going to impact the future in some way, shape, or form. So we got Kit Fisto here. Thank you for being here, Kit Fisto. Good to see you. And we have Darth Raccoon saying Kit in the house. A surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. So I feel like I have to do this again now that we got a few more senators in the chat, since this is a democracy after all.
I love democracy. I love the Republic.
So let's go on to the Andor season 2 trailer. So in addition to Kathleen Kennedy, announcing her retirement or her departure from Lucasfilm, we also got the Andor season 2 trailer finally this week. And, I got to say, Journeyman, you're going to hate me for this. We talked about Andor season 2 extensively with Travis. So Kit Fisto, Darth Racoonar, Tony, we did a podcast episode with Travis, who's in the chat. We recorded that on Tuesday. It was Tuesday. And that should be releasing any day now. I just got to go back and edit it. But I certainly hope that you all check it out. And hopefully, I have some other guests lined up. Really what I want to do with those podcast episodes. And Travis, I apologize to you. I know I kind of talked to you over Discord, but we're going to have Travis back on because I really want to try to get at the heart of what makes people Star Wars fans and hear their perspective of what it means to be a Star Wars fan. And we talked a lot about the news, and Travis was absolutely great. He's one of the best contributors here at the channel. But I really want to have Travis back on to talk about his experience as a Star Wars fan. And so, Travis, we'll definitely have you back on, whether it be a live stream or podcast episode in the very near future. So thank you again for being part of the channel, Travis, and everybody who's here. Got a lot of people in the chat tonight, which is a lot of fun. So Andor season 2. Journeyman, I was told you you're going to hate me, but I think I'm becoming an Andor fan. I really do. Okay. I really do. Because I've been trying to go back and watch it. I fell asleep on the couch last night watching it again, and that will be funny. We talked about that in the podcast with Travis, but I keep falling asleep watching it, and it's not the show's fault. It's just I'm so tired. I literally fell asleep and woke up at 4 a.m. and I was like, I fell asleep on the couch. Oh my goodness. But so I need to go back and watch it, but I sent you that recap of season 1. And so for all of you, out there, in the chat, I know Kit and Darth Racoonar, you're kind of new senators here on the channel, but Journeyman and I were not the biggest fans of Andor season 1. I think I can speak for him on that. But I will say, now that I'm trying to get back into it, I watched like a quick season 1 recap. I can see the magic of Tony Gilroy's writing, and I don't know if you experienced that, Journeyman, just kind of watching it from a high level altitude and just getting it all cram packed in a 7-minute video, the whole entire season 1. But you can see kind of some of the genius of the storytelling. The thing I will say about Andor season 1 was I think the reason why it falls kind of flat for me, maybe just Andor in general, is it lacks. I'm a big fan of the mythology when it comes to Star Wars. And so it lacks that, obviously. And so I think what I'm going to try to do for season 2, and we'll get into season 2. I don't want to just dwell on season 1. I just bring season 1 up to say, like, reliving season 1 is getting me excited for season 2. And so I'm going to try to approach season 2 with a very open mind, and knowing what season 1 was, I think will help me appreciate and accept season 2. But what are your thoughts?
So you sent me the recap. It was a whole lot better than the actual show, in my opinion. The
recap was of the show, though. You to be clear.
I get it. It's of the show, and having it done in 7 minutes was a heck of a lot better because it was 7 minutes. It doesn't feel like I was doing homework when I was watching that show. It still feels like that. I know we tried to go back and rewatch it. It still feels such a bore to me. Like, I get it. I get it. Kind of the arcs that he was wanting in the and it once he he is a good writer and showrunner or whatever his title is. He really is good at that. But I just my problem with it is there are some action pieces in season 1, but it wasn't enough to where I once again cared a whole lot about the character. Like
Sure.
we know where his story ends, and all this kind of in between is just kind of like, okay, that's great. We know where his story ends. He
Yeah.
dies, and
Yeah.
it doesn't make me care a whole lot. Like,
So I understand what you're saying. Let me try to change your perspective, because a lot of this too, let's just be clear. A lot of the problems, I'll speak for myself, I had with season 1. We were telling Travis this in the podcast episode, but a lot of the problem with that was it was coming out really late at night, 3 a.m. Central Time for us. So we were having to get up 3 a.m. Central Time. And Andor is a very narrative-driven story about Cassian Andor and the, interworkings and kind of the setup for the rebellion. And so it's not a Star Wars story that we're necessarily used to. And when you're waking up at 3 a.m. from deep sleep, it makes it kind of hard to accept. So what I will say is, when you look at it in that 7-minute recap that we watched today, you really start to understand that, yes, it's a story that follows Cassian Andor, but it's Cassian Andor's perspective in dealing with all of these other members who were responsible for the formation of the rebellion. And that is where it becomes interesting to me, because the rebels versus the Empire is the thing that makes Star Wars in the original trilogy. In my opinion, it's the little guy versus the big guy. We hear about it time and time again. That's kind of the everlasting theme of humanity is, the little guy versus the big guy. Sociologically speaking, the little guy doesn't just happen overnight.
no.
Sure,
Yeah,
it happens in episode 4. You see them on screen. There's the rebels. But how did we actually get to that point? How do you take this vast galaxy that is full of, it's complicated. It's a complicated galaxy. How do you find a way to bring all the little guys together to go up against Emperor Palpatine, Darth Vader? That's what this show is. And so when I go back and watch it, and you see it in the recap too, Mon Mothma being a little bit shady, selling out her own family, setting up her daughter with this boy to get funding for the rebellion. Like, when you kind of look at it from those more mature angles, which it gets a lot of flack of because Star Wars is supposed to be for kids, and I don't really think this is a kid show. I think there is some serious tonal, the audience that this show is geared towards, I don't think really hits at what Star Wars is. But I will say, like, I agree with the general notion that Star Wars is for everybody, and that this show can exist out there, but you just have to realize that it may not work for everybody in the way that you want it to. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, and I can agree with that. To kind of bring it to more positive note, I did watch the season 2 trailer, and I am more excited about it than season 1. Like, as we've all seen season 1, like, I am a lot more excited for it.
Yeah.
The music for it doesn't tonally sit with me, but that's okay. It's just music. But it looks a lot better. And the fact that they're doing arcs for, what is it? 4 arcs, 3 arcs?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
4 arcs.
4 arcs. 4 arcs, 3 episodes apiece. Mm-hmm.
Right. The fact that they're doing that has me a lot more excited. And it's not just one drawn out story, because it will feel like a Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire type story, but for the actual little guy. And so I'm fine with that.
Yeah. And let's bring up Travis's contribution here. Once again, really, really interesting, great take, different perspective. But what makes Andor's story work for me is it's a prequel leading to the hero becoming worse than when we meet him. That's something we don't see. And I mean, it really is an interesting story too. And that's what I was saying about the genius of Tony Gilroy, especially when you take that, you know, when you get on the high ground, so to speak, and kind of look down and actually see what he gave us in a 7-minute recap of storytelling. You could see how he interwove things. It's really interesting. He starts off trying to find his sister, and then it turns into him, basically accidentally, in a way, killing 2 guys. That leads him on this other wild journey. And all the while, he's coming across these characters who are responsible for setting up the formations of the rebellion. So,
Which actually, I have a question on that. Does he have a sister, or was he just saying that to talk to that person, like, try and get information from her? Because that's what it seemed like.
No,
Because that's what I was.
He does have a sister, is my understanding. Someone correct me, but I believe he does have a sister. And that's why it's so interesting, is it starts off with him going to try to find the sister, and then it takes it a completely, that causes this whole story to come into play. And I was on a Star Wars Jedi podcast. They were streaming last night. So go check out their channel. Mike, a guy who loves Star Wars, was actually on that podcast. So I was going to check it out. They were talking about how one of the big surprises in season 2 could be him finding his sister. And maybe his sister is not who he thinks it's going to be, or could be a big surprise. So,
so he's actually going to find his sister. Okay, that's all. That's what I was very confused about at the beginning, because he mentioned his sister, and then we get throughout season 1, and I'm like, did we forget about his sister? Does he even have a sister? I'm still confused on that. So if we're getting more of that, I'm fine with that. It doesn't leave it open.
Yeah. So it'll be good. Let's see here. Travis says, what makes it compelling is how much praise and love the people around Cassian give him, but we as the audience know how he ends up. It plays on the self-esteem of those who don't feel they are good. Goes on to say the heart of it is someone who appears heroic on the outside, but on the inside feels like he's horrible. That battle that those who look up to him will never know. Kind of rebellion in a nutshell. There's Travis. He could be he's basically Tony Gilroy's protege. He should go write Star Wars because he thinks of all that thing. And I can't wait. I know I keep going to the podcast. I'm excited about it. But when I was re-editing it, Travis, I was, one of my favorite parts of the whole show is the very end. And I'm not just saying this to be like, you got to stay till the end. But when you make those connections, and I won't spoil it because I want people to hear it from you, but when you make all those connections and really flesh out why Return of the Jedi is your favorite Star Wars movie, it's very, very wholesome, I think. And I think people will really appreciate what you have to say. So thank you again. Tony says you got shout outs in that show. Are you talking about Star Wars Jedi podcast, Tony? Because I like those guys. They're a lot of fun. Let's see. Darth Rakunar says, imagine she works for the Empire and Cassian finds her in the 4th arc and has to kill her. That would be wild. Yes. I could see that. I could see her, because I think why Marva takes Cassian off world in the first place is the Empire is going to basically wipe out that group of kids, is going to come back. And that's my understanding, at least. So who's to say the Empire didn't take the kids, including his sister? So that could be really interesting. So I wanted to bring up one rumor that now this is coming from comicbookmovie.com. So I don't know how reputable this source is, but it came out in, let's see, 2023. Nearly a year and a half ago. And I remember this story, and it makes it sound like we could be getting some fun stuff. Whether or not it's actually true, we'll see. But the title of the article says, Andor Season 2 set photos suggest Cassian Andor will be paying a visit to the prequel planet Naboo. Now that could be fun. That could be fun. And like I said, this is coming from comicbookmovie.com. I don't know if anybody of you in the chat actually remember this story, but it came out, and I know there's kind of some fun talk about it at the time. Apparently, they were filming at a castle that was in, let's see. It says this week cameras have been rolling at Hever Castle, Kent, in England, a location previously used as a stand-in for Naboo in 1999 Star Wars The Phantom Menace. The fan who took these photos was reportedly told the castle is once again dubbed for Padme Amidala's home planet, seemingly confirming we'll finally return there. So who actually knows if this is true, but how cool would it be to actually go to Naboo, a planet we haven't been to since Revenge of the Sith at Padme's funeral?
That's what I was just about to say, though, is like, do we see Padme's grave where Padme is actually buried?
Possibly.
Because we've seen that in the comics. Like, Vader goes there, right? Or tries to go there or something like that. But I think that'd be so cool. Like, we finally get to see what it actually looks like.
Yeah.
I think it would be a really good motivator. I don't know how, but I think it would be a very good motivator to kind of see that her like burial plot and be like, yeah, like this is why we're doing it. It's for people like her.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that you're exactly right. And that's what I was thinking too. So that's a good point. It's like, yeah, they could go there because she was instrumental in starting the foundations of the rebellion, right? And so to pay her respects, it does say in this article here that they assume that it'd be Cassian going to Naboo, but it very well could be someone like Mon Mothma going to Naboo. And then I started to speculate. Travis, you may say I'm reaching here, so you stop me in the chat. But who's to say they maybe are trying to go to Naboo to try to dig up some dirt on Palpatine, because that's his home planet as well as Naboo. So maybe they're trying to, dig up some dirt or evidence, blackmail Palpatine. It's probably not going to end well for them because, I mean, he's the Emperor of the Galaxies. Or they could be, what if Padme had some hidden secrets that she had on Naboo, so they're going to Naboo to get some hidden plans for something. I don't know. It could be a lot of fun. So if anybody's got a wild speculation or theory, there should be a link in the description that you can submit your theory for what may be happening on Naboo in season 2 of Andor. We'll see. Travis says it's not reaching if you're using the pieces in front of you. You're onto something, Ryan. I don't know, Travis. I think we could be reaching. Who knows if this is even accurate? This is just a rumor at the time. I did want to bring it up. But Tony says maybe they find the lower half of them all. Oh, that's good. That's good.
And here we have the lower half of Maul.
Yeah. It's like in a museum.
I mean, that one guy was an antique collector.
Yeah. Luthen goes in Naboo to collect the lower half of Maul. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Travis also said, what if the ultimate slap in the face from Mon Mothma's Palpatine is going to his home planet and protest the Empire there, which sends her into hiding? Oh, that's a legit theory. I read that and I was like, maybe he's just kidding. I for some reason I thought this was going to be a joke, but that's kind of where my mind is going. Palpatine has big connections here, so what better way to slap him in the face, basically, to go turn his own people against him?
Well, and that could be like the actual start of like, hey, we're building the rebellion. Here is like the actual kind of start of it. Like it's kind of happening and people are doing it at a really low level, but to like make it official, like this is going to be the rebels versus the Empire sort of thing. Like that would be a great reason. Think of how mad Palpatine would be too.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we get a cameo or something, but like What if we just hear his voice on like a recorder of some type of just like something wild, like these rebels scum,
Yeah.
something like
No,
that. Like
now I'm conjuring up a video in my mind of why Naboo could be important in Andor season 2, because it really could. I mean, like I keep saying it's just comicbookmovie.com. I don't see and this is like I said from a year and a half ago, there hasn't been a lot of reporting on it, but I do remember this story coming out at the time, and there's a couple of other. Yeah, Star Wars Newsnet at the time reported as well. Andor building up to shoot at Hever Castle soon, location for Naboo and the Phantom Menace. So they could be literally going to a castle. Well, Screen Rant article, Padme Amidala's homeworld is more important to the future of Star Wars than ever before. And it's talking about Andor season 2. So, I mean, we could be going back to Naboo, man. And just to be clear, not trying to reach here, but the last time we also saw Grogu, he was with Keller and Beck on a Naboo starfighter. So just to connect some of the pieces there. I'm not saying we're going to get Grogu, but I mean, Grogu makes money. Why not throw him in Andor? There he is again.
Does it make sense for the story? No, slap him on there anyway.
Oh my goodness, that's good. You got some funny stuff in the chat. I don't know if you've been reading the chat, but they're having some fun. That's good. I love to see it. So any other thoughts on the season 2 trailer? I mean, the music choice was interesting. And then I will say too, we haven't touched on this. I'm extremely excited to get the 3-episode mini arcs all at the same time. I think it's going to do amazing things for the series, and I hope if it works well, as much as I love them prolonging some of these series on Disney Plus and streaming in general, I do like the idea of making sure that the storytelling is cohesive week to week, and you tie up the loose ends that you want to tie up, and you give us the cliffhangers that really set us up for the next episode. So I hope that that's what's going to be happening.
Talking about the mini arcs, I feel like it's funny how Disney Plus has evolved over these years. It's like when Disney Plus first came out, it was during the pandemic, right? And we thought, oh, this will be great. We get longer form of content, and all the stories can be fleshed out. But it started, and Mando was great, and that kind of set the stage for a lot of it. But that was kind of a once in a blue moon type show of that actually working. And I feel like now it's evolved into, hey, give us the arcs or give us the story really quickly all at once. Let us watch it, let us judge it, and move on to the next thing. But release it all at the same time. Don't leave us hanging on, unless it's meant to be that way. Don't leave us with a dry episode, basically. Don't have an episode just to have an episode and have everyone get up at 3, or they're starting to do it earlier now. But don't let everyone just get up at 3 a.m. just to watch that episode,
Yeah.
So I think from now on, at least my theory on Disney Plus is that's what they're going to start doing for their shows, of releasing. I think they'll be more willing to release all the episodes at once. If it works, release a lot of the stuff if it's meant to be that way, or or release it how they've been releasing it. Just depends on what format they're using. But I think they're going to be more willing to just release the episodes and let people watch it, judge it, and then they can move on to the next thing. There's no need to have it kind of be like an episodic thing of every week we got to do something. You can do that, but it needs to be shorter. That way people's attention span are there, and also the story is completed.
Exactly. And I think they may be doing it partly for that reason, but Tony brought up a good point as well. I believe it was in the Discord, our Discord, Tony, which if you're not a part of, I keep putting up the banner, but go join our Discord. We're trying to grow that, and that way we could take the conversation off air and keep it going in the Discord. But Tony, I think you were saying that in order for the show to be considered or have the possibility to be nominated for, I think it was the Emmys, I believe, they had to air it all by a certain date, which I believe was the end of May. So they may have been trying to get all the episodes aired before the deadline to get considered for a certain award, because historically Star Wars does not do very well when it comes to awards like that. And I think that could be a reason as well. So there may be a lot of competing factors on why that is. Tony said, I heard now is May 19th. So that could be part of it. But I certainly hope that it works well enough for them to where they're more likely to do this type of thing in the future. So we'll see. We will see. I wanted to bring this up. Darth Rakunar says, and Padme always wanted peace, and the public knows that. So this could be another reason for Mon to protest on Naboo. Yeah, honestly, these are all really great theories, and I'm probably going to do a video on it and try to piece the things together based off of what's in front of me, Travis. I'm not going to reach. I'm really not going to reach. And maybe I'll put a video out on what I think could be happening on Naboo, because that would be really
maybe
cool.
Just reach a little bit.
Maybe just reach a little bit. We got to have a little bit of fun, right? Mm-hmm. But no, Andor season 2, I think the trailer's good. The music, I think, we're a little bit late to the party when it comes to reacting on Andor season 2. I think everybody said their piece about the music. I mean, it is what it is. I'm really trying to just stay focused on what they could do with the actual storytelling of this season. So just like we kind of talked about Mon Mothma setting up her daughter, we are planning on seeing the wedding in Andor season 2. And in the trailer, you see Mon Mothma, like what it looks like she's at the wedding on Chandrila, and someone shows up to the party that she does not want to be there. And so that could be interesting. We talked about on the podcast, the Gorman massacre. So what actually leads Mon Mothma to go into hiding. And we know from some of the artwork, I believe, and some of the things that have been released, is that Mon Mothma will be aided by Cassian Andor after the Gorman massacre, because she publicly denounces Palpatine and blames him for what happens on Gorman and that massacre. But Cassian is going to help her escape Coruscant, and then to actually go to the Ghost, which we see that story pick up in Star Wars Rebels. So there's a whole animated Star Wars Rebels. There's a whole episode dedicated to rescuing Mon Mothma and taking her to Yavin. So what'll be kind of fun is you'll get to see that connect to Star Wars Rebels in a way. So let's see. Catch up on a few things here. Travis says, imagine we see the Gungans again in Andor, but presented seriously. That would be great. Yeah, I mean, they could be a part of the rebellion. And then let's see. Imagine we see Rick, Oli, and Panaka again. Panaka at this time would be an Imperial officer. Seeing these background heroes of the Phantom Menace be broken and corrupted would be tragic to see. Yeah. So a lot of cool stuff that they could be doing. It will be interesting to see what they do for season 2. Any last thoughts on season 2 stuff? Andor season 2?
No, I'm just more excited for it than season 1.
Leave it off on a positive. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The other piece of news I wanted to get to was we got Revenge of the Sith coming back to theaters. And I believe it's coming out. Let's see. When is Revenge?
April 25th.
Is it the 25th? Yeah. April 25th. So that's really exciting. That's going to be after Star Wars Celebration. So maybe I'm sure we'll get some type of panel if it has already been announced for the 20th anniversary.
To see that crew back together, that'd be great.
Do you think that we get? I mean, it's not confirmed, but I wonder if Natalie Portman's coming back for that. It hasn't been announced that Ewan McGregor's going to be there. We know Hayden Christensen's going to be there, but we have not heard that Ewan or Natalie is going to be there. You got to wonder if they're going to bring Natalie, Ewan, maybe even Sam Jackson, and then we get a Mace Windu series announcement or something. No, I'm just kidding, but you never know.
I would love just to see the group together. Like,
Yeah.
I think it would be so cool. Especially seeing Portman again. Like, we haven't seen her in Star Wars in so long, and just to have her kind of in the fandom, like, interacting with it again, I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah. Well, and I'm really excited. I mean, we got to go see it in the theaters. I mean,
Oh yeah, my calendar is already booked for that day.
Travis said it here. It's our favorite of Saga. Yeah, it's both of our favorites, and it was my first Star Wars movie in theaters that I went to see as a kid. So it will mean a lot to see that one on the big screen for sure. It'll be nice to experience Star Wars in theaters again, just in general. So I am excited for that.
I've always wanted to see it in theaters. I think I remember seeing it. I don't think I ever saw it in the theaters though.
Yeah, I remember seeing it several times. I mean, maybe 5 times as a kid. I went to go see it in the movie theater. Like, I was just like, take me back, take me back, take me back. Well, I don't know. I mean, we won't get too granular, but we grew up in the same hometown. Do you remember the Dollar Theater?
Yes.
Okay, well, so you could go see a movie for just a few bucks. So you better bet I was seeing Revenge of the Sith as often as I possibly could. But so good times there. But yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm excited for the announcements that we're getting at Star Wars Celebration. Yeah, it'll be really fun to experience that with the sound, the Dolby sound, or whatever. But so, anything else you want to talk through while we're still on? Pretty much covered all the news this week. I think that there really hasn't been anything else that's come out other than, I keep saying it, but make sure you check out the podcast that we did with Travis, and let us know if there's any other guests that you'd like us to bring on. I'd love to be able to do a podcast like that at least once a month, if not more. It was a lot of fun, like I said, to have somebody on, and as much as I love the chat, it was really good just to kind of focus on the person in front of us and just talk about Star Wars. And Travis was, we've had him on live streams before, but he's a key contributor to this community, and he was the first person I thought of when I wanted to bring somebody on to talk Star Wars. So yeah, what are you thinking? Anything else?
No, I really want to experience Revenge of the Sith in theaters. Like, I just think that'd be so fun having, we're going to go see it together. I know that much. I just want to have it, experience it with other people as well. Like, have that. It's just the memes of Star Wars. Like, a lot of memes came out from that movie, and so just to kind of experience that within the theaters would be great. I hope everyone just kind of mumbles along with the movie of like line by line. That's kind of what I hope.
Do you think we get cheers when we get hello there? I bet. I bet they cheer.
I think there's more cheers at the end of the movie of the fight.
Yeah.
You underestimate my pal.
or this one.
I am the Senate. The Senate will decide your fate.
So good.
So good.
So good.
It is good. It's really just fantastic. Yeah, fun times. Tony said, let's see here. He saw movies in Mexico for 1 peso, which was 8 cents. Now that I would see Revenge of the Sith a couple of times a day in theaters for
multiple
that.
times. Yes.
Yeah. And then I don't think I brought this, but I didn't get to it. Darth Rakunar says, I'd love to see Revenge of the Sith in theaters, but it probably won't release over here in Germany. So you're in Germany. Makes sense. That's why I wasn't that excited about the announcement. Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, you can't go watch it. It's not that exciting of an announcement, but
that's why there's always Disney Plus for you to watch it with everyone else on
yeah,
that day.
rent a theater, Darth Rakunar, and see if you can't experience it that way. And there's going to be cheers at Master Skywalker. There's too many of them.
I'll be cheering. I'm kidding.
That's my best. Oh, no. Don't exist. That's the best part. Oh, no.
It's treason, then.
In the name of the Galactic Senate of the Republic, you're under arrest, Chancellor.
Hope the audience joins in with the no. The end. The thing about that movie is, and we've talked about this before, I think, but you just want it to end differently, and it's that
Every
part
time
where he's sitting in the High Council chambers.
Yes.
And it's just
it's just the tear that rolls down his face. You're just like, don't do it. Please.
And then what's it? Palpatine's like, I know what's been troubling you, or something like that.
Oh,
The Jedi are taking over.
The Jedi are taking over.
You're welcome.
Roger.
Yeah. You really think about
that. What's the quote from the Clone Wars of that battle droid? I already used it yet.
Yeah, I haven't yet. Yeah, what does he say in the Clone Wars? I haven't used it yet. Tony, the saddest is when Yoda announces failed. I have. There's so many. I sense a plot to destroy the Jedi. There's so many good lines in that
There's
movie.
so many moments. I'll just say it for this though, but like my favorite moment of that whole movie though is the one where he's in the chamber and the Jedi temple. It's like we said, where you wanted to change. But my other favorite part is at the end of the movie when he turns around and half his face is covered and all you see is the red eye of him, and he's gone basically fully to the dark side at that point. It's like that moment you're just like, this is what you became. Like, this is the consequences. It's such a cool shot, but at the same time you're just like, wish it would have turned out differently as well. Like, it's just another one of those moments, like that's the full realization of it.
And then, that's our favorite movie, and then you get Travis's favorite, which is Return of the Jedi, and he gets redeemed, and it's all better there. And then we get him in projects like Ahsoka, where we get to see him beyond the living force and the real world, so to speak, and taking the role of literally the cosmic force itself in a way. I mean, he was. Yeah, we could go on a whole tangent with that, but it's just so great that even now we can see his character through, and we're still getting more information on what he has become. And so, to bring it full circle, that was largely explored in Ahsoka, which is obviously Dave's project. And so hopefully we just get more storytelling like that, because that's the Star Wars, again, to bring it full circle. I'm coming around to Andor, but I really like the mythology when it comes to Star Wars. If you haven't noticed in my videos, I talk a lot about the Mortis gods and Ahsoka and the world between worlds, and that's my favorite part of it. But hopefully we get some more of that. That would make me excited. So, alrighty. Well, appreciate everyone being here. Like I said, if you aren't part of the Discord, make sure you click that link in the description to join the Discord. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. Lots of stuff coming down the pipeline, and we're going to try to continue to do these every Thursday for the foreseeable future. And so we appreciate everyone being here. drop a like or hit the like button and drop a comment in the comment section. And that really helps us out. So until next time, may the force be with you always.